Have you ever found yourself wondering why some movements, some ideas, some organizations, they seem to just explode with this unstoppable momentum,
Yeah.
while others, despite all the effort, good intentions, they just kind of fizzle out?
It happens all the time. It's a really important question.
It really cuts to the heart of impact, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the answer, well, it often isn't about deep pockets or perfect timing or even just raw talent.
Right. Those things help, but they aren't the core difference.
It seems to be about a specific kind of leadership, the rare kind, the kind carried by what we're calling a vision bearer.
That's a great term for it.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into this whole idea, vision bearers, the role of the pioneer leader.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission really is to get our heads around what it truly means to carry a God-given vision, how that's fundamentally different from just personal ambition,
A crucial distinction.
and why figuring that out is, frankly, more critical than ever in the world we're living in now with everything changing so fast.
Absolutely. We need that anchor.
We want to equip you with some framework, some ways to see how true vision isn't just sparked, but how it gets refined, often through tough times, through challenge.
Yeah, the refining is key.
And then how does it actually translate from this unseen conviction into something real, something tangible, something that actually shapes the world?
Moving from the internal to the external.
Exactly. Our insights for this dive, they come from a range of texts looking at visionary leadership, but with a real focus on a biblical perspective.
Right. These sources look at vision as something entrusted.
Like a divine entrustment, yeah. And the cost, sometimes a really high cost of carrying it. And that critical difference we mentioned, calling versus ambition.
Yeah, digging into that difference is central.
Okay, so let's unpack this idea of a vision bearer. What actually makes them unique? Where do we start?
Well, it's a great place to kick off. What the sources consistently point to is that true vision isn't something you just, cook up from your own desires.
Right, not just a brainstorm session.
No, not at all. It's more like a profound conviction, a deeply called sense of purpose. It lets someone see a future, maybe a solution that others they can't see it yet.
So it's like seeing around corners, in a way.
In a sense, yes, but it's more revelation than invention. That's the key.
Okay, revelation, not invention. I like that.
Our sources really frame it as a divine entrustment. The idea originates somewhere higher, a larger purpose, and then it's given, entrusted to human vessels.
Can you give an example of that?
Sure. Think about Abraham. Genesis 12, his whole massive journey, it didn't start with his travel plans.
Right.
It started with a divine summons. Go from your country to the land I will show you. He wasn't given a map, just a promise and a direction.
Wow.
Just go.
That's pretty much the essence of divine entrustment right there. He had to trust.
Okay, so how does that connect to us now, in today's world?
Well, think about it. We're drowning in information, constant change, the ability to actually discern and then refine and align with that kind of vision.
It's not just nice anymore. It's essential. It's what gives you resilience, drives real innovation, and creates lasting impact. Without that clarity,
You're just getting swept along,
yeah,
reacting.
precisely, you're just reacting. And this principle, it echoes through so many of these powerful stories, these archetypes. Moses, right? Carrying this vision of liberation, standing against an empire.
Yeah, huge odds.
Or Nehemiah, he sees Jerusalem's broken walls and he's driven by this vision of restoration. Or Esther, stepping into that palace, not for herself, but for a purpose bigger than her.
So these aren't just old stories.
Not at all. They're blueprints, in a way. They reveal a fundamental principle of how really impactful change happens, even today.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so if that's a divine calling, how do we tell it apart from just really strong personal ambition? Because, let's be honest, on the outside, they can look pretty similar sometimes.
That is the critical distinction, you're right. And it's tricky because personal ambition can mimic a divine calling. It can achieve amazing things.
Sure. Drive, focus.
Exactly. But what our sources really emphasize is that ambition on its own cannot replicate the transformative force of a true calling.
Okay, transformative force. What does that mean?
A leader driven by ambition might get compliance, maybe even temporary enthusiasm, but a true vision bearer, rooted in that divine calling, they stir genuine, deep commitment. That's what leads to enduring, world-altering change.
So one changes behavior, the other changes hearts.
That's a good way to put it. Ambition is something we build from our own desires, our own needs. Calling, though, it feels more like it's received, like a holy interruption. It often finds us.
A holy interruption. I like that framing. That distinction feels really powerful already. But it also sounds like carrying this kind of vision. It's not all inspiration and mountaintops.
Not at all. That's a common misconception.
What I'm hearing is that it often involves pretty significant trials, a kind of refining process.
Absolutely. The cost of bearing vision is a major theme. Vision has to be purified, the bearer has to be refined,
Right.
often simultaneously.
Why is that necessary?
Well, without these trials, a leader risks operating from pride, maybe presumption, or just collapsing under the sheer weight of it all. The refining deals with that.
Okay, so what does that refining look like?
Our sources point to a few key patterns. First, there's often fire. This fire purifies motives right down at the heart level.
Fire, like intense pressure or suffering.
Often, yes. Think of Joseph. His youthful dreams, maybe a bit arrogant initially.
Yeah, the coat, the bowing sheaves.
Right. Those dreams were purged through betrayal, slavery, prison, years of it. But he came out not bitter, but with this incredibly clear God-centered vision of preservation. He understood God had sent him ahead to save lives.
So the fire burned away the ego, the self-focus.
Exactly. It reveals what's impure, what's just self-driven, what can't actually handle the weight of a real calling. For you listening, these fires might be painful setbacks, maybe harsh criticism, even betrayal. They force you to ask, am I serving something bigger or just myself?
So it's not just about getting through the pain, but understanding its purpose in that refining.
Spot on. Then there's the wilderness. This is often a season of formation in obscurity.
Wilderness, like being ignored.
What delay?
Yeah. Periods of struggle, delay, being hidden away. It's almost never punishment. It's preparation. Think of David,
Yeah.
anointed king as a young man.
But then spends years on the run.
Exactly. Hiding in caves, pursued like a criminal. That period produced incredible humility, dependence on God. It shaped him. Jesus himself, right? 40 days in the wilderness before starting his public work.
Okay. So for us today, that might look like, what? A career stall.
Could be, or organizational setbacks that seem endless. Long periods where you're working hard, but nobody seems to notice.
That can be incredibly frustrating.
Of course, but the sources are really clear. These aren't failures. They're training grounds. They build character, deepen trust.
Okay. Fire and wilderness. What else?
And finally, opposition. Resistance often acts as a kind of confirmation.
Wait, resistance confirms the vision? That sounds counterintuitive. It does, but think about it. No truly significant vision, especially one that challenges the way things are, gets realized without some pushback. Nehemiah faced constant mockery, threats, sabotage while rebuilding those walls.
Right, Sanballat and Tobiah.
But that opposition, it just revealed how strong his conviction was. It solidified his resolve.
So if you're trying to do something good, something disruptive, and you meet resistance,
You should almost expect it. If you're an entrepreneur trying to operate ethically in a corrupt system, or a reformer pushing against injustice, that pushback often confirms you're actually touching something real,
Yeah.
something consequential, something that rattles the status quo.
wow. Okay, so seeing the vision isn't enough.
Mhm.
Enduring the refining isn't enough. You actually have to build it.
Exactly.
It's like you said earlier, you can't just be the prophet seeing it. You also have to be the builder making it happen.
Precisely. Our sources really highlight this dual role of the vision bearer, prophet and builder. They have to be both. They see beyond the current reality. They articulate that future.
That's the prophet part.
Right. And then they have to craft the strategies, the structures, the teams to make that vision tangible, to give it legs.
That's the builder part.
Think about Nehemiah again. He didn't just, weep over the walls and pray.
No, he got organized.
Totally. Organized labor crews, delegated tasks, secured resources, managed the opposition all at the same time. Or Paul. Yes, he proclaimed the mystery of Christ.
But he also set up church structures.
Meticulously. Drafted guidelines for governance, mentored leaders, planned for succession. Think about Jesus himself. Declared the kingdom, yes, but then what did he do?
He invested in 12 guys.
12 ordinary men. Discipled them, gave them the framework, the practices, the mission to sustain and expand the movement long after he was physically gone.
So it's about taking that initial spark, that divine download,
Yeah, that revelation.
and turning it into something that can actually live and breathe and grow in the real world.
That's the absolute heart of it. Moving from revelation to habitation, vision without structure. It's like a firework.
Beautiful.
Exactly. Inspires awe for a moment, but then it fades. Poof. It's inspiration without endurance.
Okay. And the opposite.
Well, practical construction without vision, that can be efficient, sure. Ticking boxes, managing processes, but it's lifeless. It's bureaucracy without a soul. No purpose driving it.
So the genius is holding both together.
That's it. Receiving the divine insight and then diligently building something lasting, something that embodies that insight.
That makes a huge difference. Okay, so what are the key tools or maybe capacities a vision bearer needs to actually build that future?
Good question. As builders, they need to cultivate several critical things. First, definitely resilience, just the sheer ability to withstand setbacks, resistance, delays.
You got to bounce back.
Constantly. Second, adaptability, the wisdom to adjust the strategy when needed without compromising the core vision. Paul did this all the time, right? Doors closed in one region, he shifted routes, found new pathways, but the mission stayed the same.
Flexible methods, firm purpose.
Exactly. And third, the skill to design systems. Systems that can carry the vision beyond their own efforts, beyond their own lifetime, ensuring sustainability, succession. They aren't just building for today.
Building for generations. Got it. So, okay, we've talked about the challenges, the building.
Yeah.
But what about the person? What are the core inner qualities? What's in their, spiritual DNA?
Our sources consistently point to a powerful triad of qualities, essential for these biblical pioneers.
A triad. Oh,
First, faith. And we're not talking about wishful thinking here.
right, not just optimism.
No. It's a deep, settled conviction in what God has promised, even when you can't see any evidence for it. Think Abraham again, leaving Ur without a map, just trusting God's word, this impossible promise of descendants.
From barrenness.
Right. Faith lets pioneers look at dead ends, barren wombs, dry bones in a valley, prison cells, and see them not as finalities, but as the fertile ground for God's promises.
Okay, faith is number one. What's next?
Second, obedience. If faith provides the sight, obedience provides the action. It puts feet on the ground.
Because vision alone isn't enough.
Nope. It doesn't advance just by believing really hard. It demands action, often action that seems illogical or uncomfortable. Moses, terrified, stammering, still goes back to confront Pharaoh. Why? Because God commanded it.
Noah building an ark.
When rain wasn't even a concept. Mary's quiet surrender. Let it be to me according to your word. Obedience is that critical hinge connecting revelation to reality.
Faith, obedience, and the third.
Courage. And again, this isn't about not feeling fear, it's the decision to act despite the fear.
Acting even when you're scared.
Exactly. Every single biblical pioneer faced hostility, rejection, danger. Joshua leading Israel into hostile territory. He needed that command. Be strong and courageous, for the Lord your God will be with you. Esther going before the king unsummoned, that took immense courage.
Risking her life.
Absolutely. Courage is essential because true vision always disrupts things, and building new realities inevitably means facing down opposition.
What strikes me is how tightly connected those three are. Faith, obedience, courage. They don't really work in isolation, do they?
You've nailed it. They're inseparable. Think about it. Faith without obedience. It's passive, just mental agreement.
Right.
Obedience without faith. That can become joyless duty, legalism, just going through the motions.
Okay.
And courage without faith and obedience, that could just be reckless bravado, maybe even arrogance. They have to work together.
And are these things you're just born with, like personality traits?
Not really, no. The sources suggest they are cultivated disciplines, forged in that relationship with God, refined through those fires and wilderness times we talked about. They grow through dependence.
Okay, this brings us to maybe the toughest part for many of us listening. How do we actually discern? How do we know if this passion, this drive we feel is really that divine calling, or if it's just a really powerful personal ambition?
Yeah.
What are the markers?
This is such a pivotal point, you're right. And the texts offer some surprisingly clear distinctions, even though the line can feel razor thin sometimes. The outcome, though, is vastly different.
Okay, lay them out for us. How do we tell?
Let's start with their origins. Where does it come from? Calling tends to be received, often as a kind of holy interruption, like we said.
Like Abraham being called out or Mary being visited?
Exactly, it comes to you. Ambition, on the other hand, tends to be constructed, built from human desire. Think of the builders of Babel. Let us make a name for ourselves. It's self-conceived, self-generated.
So receive versus constructed, that's a big one. What else?
Consider the posture it produces. Calling generally humbles the person. Moses arguing he's not adequate, Isaiah crying out, "Woe is me, I am ruined." There's a sense of inadequacy apart from God.
Okay.
Ambition, however, tends to inflate the ego. King Saul, remember, often more concerned about what the people thought about his own status than obeying God directly.
Right, keeping the best sheep.
Exactly. It's self-protective, self-promoting. Next, look at the motivation, what's driving it. Calling is consistently oriented toward service, toward others. Jesus laying down his life. Paul pouring himself out like a drink offering for the churches.
It's fundamentally outward focused.
Yes, ambition at its core is self-referential. It's seeking recognition, maybe control, personal gain, status. Even if it does good things along the way, the ultimate reference point is the self.
Okay, origins, posture, motivation.
Mm.
What about how they handle hardship?
That's durability. Calling is tested conviction. It endures suffering because its roots go deeper than circumstances. Joseph's dream survived the pit and the prison. David's anointing was forged in lonely caves. Jesus' mission held firm even in Gethsemane.
It persists through the fire.
Right. Ambition, though, is often tied to a fragile ego. It can shatter at the first sign of real rejection, serious delay, or when the applause stops. It needs external validation to survive.
That's revealing. Anything else?
Critically, the source of strength. Calling inherently requires God's power. Why? Because it usually involves tasks that are humanly impossible. Leading slaves out of Egypt, Gideon defeating an army with 300 men, the incarnation itself. These demand divine intervention.
You can't do it on your own steam.
No way. Ambition, however, typically operates within human limits. It relies on talent, strategy, networking, willpower. Think Babel again, or the rich fool in the parable building bigger barns. Achievable through human effort alone.
Okay, that distinction is powerful. You mentioned Gethsemane.
Mm-hmm.
Does prayer play a role in telling them apart?
Immensely. Our sources point to prayer as perhaps the great distinguisher. It's the crucible where ambition gets sifted out, exposed for what it is, and where true calling gets confirmed, clarified, strengthened.
How so?
Because in genuine prayer, especially prayer of surrender like Jesus, not my will, but yours be done, the focus shifts from self to God. It forces honesty about motives. So for you, listening, ask yourself these questions.
Okay.
Would you still pursue this vision if nobody ever knew your name? If there was zero applause? Does thinking about this vision drive you to your knees in dependence on God, or does it make you stand taller in your own strength and pride? The honest answers often reveal the true source.
Wow. Those are incredibly insightful, maybe even uncomfortable filters.
Hmm.
Okay, so wrapping this all together, what does this mean for us today, practically? How do we apply these big ideas to our own lives, our own leadership, whatever form that takes?
Yeah, let's bring it down to actionable steps. We can definitely translate these insights.
Right.
First, think about vision refinement. How does God take those initial sparks and shape them into a clear, workable strategy?
Okay.
The sources suggest a few key processes. One is that furnace of prayer we just talked about, essential for stripping ego, gaining clarity, confirming the source. Another is immersing yourself in Scripture, ensuring your vision aligns with God's character and larger purposes. Think of William Wilberforce grounding his fight against slavery in the core belief that all humans are made in God's image.
So grounding it theologically.
Crucial. Then there's seeking the counsel of the wise mentors, trusted community members who can spot your blind spots, offer confirmation, ask hard questions.
Need that outside perspective.
Yeah, definitely. And finally, the test of reality itself. Obstacles, delays, they aren't just things to endure. They actually prune unrealistic expectations and force you to build resilience. God uses the process.
Okay, so refinement is ongoing.
No.
Then what?
Then it's about translating vision to strategy, moving from revelation to that habitation we discussed.
Right, the building phase.
This means getting crystal clear on your why, anchoring everything in that God-given purpose, not personal gain, like Joseph realizing his purpose was preserving life. It means designing the what, turning the vision into tangible models, specific programs, concrete actions, like Moses getting detailed tabernacle instructions.
The specifics matter.
They do. Then you define the how, building the systems, the processes, the practices that make it sustainable. Think of the early church establishing rhythms of gathering, teaching, sharing. And crucially, you embody the who, cultivating teams, communities who genuinely share the core values, like Jesus investing so deeply in his disciples. It's about people.
So it's a really holistic approach to stewarding the vision.
It really is. And all of this requires personal readiness. You have to ask yourself honestly, am I willing to step into uncertainty? Can I persevere when things get really hard? Is my connection to God deep enough to truly rely on His power, not just my own?
Tough questions.
Am I genuinely committed to saving others, even when it costs me? Do I have the humility to admit mistakes, adapt, learn? These aren't just tick boxes. They reflect the readiness of your heart.
That's sobering. How can someone get more clarity on their specific call?
The texts implicitly give us a kind of framework, maybe like the 5 W's mission clarifier.
Okay, the 5 W's.
WHO. Who are the specific people God has put on your heart? Who are you burdened for?
What's the tangible problem, the specific need you feel compelled to address? Like Nehemiah, weeping over broken walls, it was specific.
What's the unchanging theological truth, the core conviction that fuels this work? Like Paul saying, I'm not ashamed of the gospel, it's the power of God.
What's the specific context, cultural, geographical, maybe even digital, where your calling is meant to land?
What are the unique values, the specific approaches, the methods God seems to be putting in your hands?
Who, what, why, where, how? That's really practical.
Getting clarity on those can really sharpen the focus. And this clarity isn't just for individuals. Our sources also hint at things like collaborative vision alignment workshops for teams, moving people from just agreeing with a mission statement to actively owning it together, sharing stories, breaking down the mission, identifying obstacles as a group.
Getting everyone pulling in the same direction based on that shared, refined vision.
Exactly. From passive agreement to active ownership.
This has been, well, quite a deep dive. We've really journeyed through this sacred role of the vision bearer, understanding how those divine sparks get entrusted,
How they're refined through fire and wilderness.
how they get translated into actual reality,
And fueled by that triad of faith, obedience, and courage.
and maybe most importantly, sharpening our ability to discern between that God-given calling and our own ambition.
That distinction is key.
So as we wrap up, maybe a final thought for everyone listening to chew on.
Here's something to consider, perhaps a provocative thought. What if the greatest legacy of a pioneer, a vision bearer, isn't actually achieving the vision personally during their lifetime?
Okay.
What if their greatest contribution is preparing the ground, laying the foundation, making it possible for someone else to finish it? Maybe someone who comes after them.
Wow. Are you okay with that possibility?
Exactly. Are you, the listener, truly at peace with that possibility? That your work might be essential groundwork, not the final building? It challenges our whole modern idea of success, doesn't it?
It really does. It invites a posture of surrender.
Trusting God's bigger story, his timing, not just our own definition of completion.
So maybe the challenge for us this week is to think about our own Genesis moment, that initial spark, that stirring, and consider one bold, practical step. Something concrete we could do to move that vision, however small, from just a concept in our heads.
To an actual commitment, an action.
Remembering that every true vision, it seems, asks us to start living today as if God's promised tomorrow is already breaking into our present.
Beautifully put, living as if his tomorrow is already invading today.